Coming up tonight on the news at 6. East Helena School's superintendent announced he's retiring. So now both Helena area school districts are on the hunt for a new superintendent. Plus,
and I believe it really does change a child's story for them to know just how precious they are.
A small misunderstanding leads to a big outpouring of support for Helena area CASA kids.
From Montana's news leader, this is MTN News at 6.
Good evening. Welcome to the News at 6. I'm Marian Davidson. Thanks for joining us. Well, dangerously cold temperatures put Helena in a deep freeze. Now, we shot this video outside the state capitol as the snow continued to fall this morning. The scene is a stark contrast from last week, if you can remember back that far, when there was little to no snow.
Yeah, that seems like ages ago now, doesn't it, Marian?
Yeah, Andy, we've got to talk about this because I feel like every time you fill in for Curtis, we get the most unpleasant wind, now sub-zero temperatures. What's the deal?
Wait a minute, you bring up a good point. It's almost as if he knows what the weather is going to be like ahead of time. And
so weird. How would he know that?
I don't know. Well, let's do our best together to get through this. Temperatures are frigid. They are dangerous out there with the wind chill that is 35 below in Havre, 35 below in Cut Bank, 29 below in Great Falls, 20 in Helena, and not a real big difference from yesterday when we saw equally as cold temperatures. And unfortunately, even though the snow will be stopping, those temperatures won't be going anywhere but continue to fall as we head farther into the weekend. I'll give you the frigid forecast coming up in the full forecast.
All right, thanks, Andy. Well, it can be very hard to get out of the cold if you do not have a home. As frigid temperatures arrived in Helena, the local emergency shelter saw a big jump in people needing its services. Leaders at God's Love say they had 14 new clients asked to move in over the weekend, and they got requests from 7 more just this morning. In order to maintain social distancing during the pandemic, the shelter already had to cut back from 31 available beds for men to 25. Despite that, leaders say they have not had as many people in overflow space as they did last winter, and they credit that to housing assistance and other COVID-19 support programs. Currently, God's Love has 16 people staying in overflow areas.
So it's a little bit easier right now to give people the 6-foot distancing, but you know what we're going to be facing is, okay, what other parts of the building can we put people that will allow for the 6-foot distancing?
God's Love leaders say their biggest needs right now are socks, gloves, scarves, and other winter items. They also need bleach, disinfectant, and other cleaning supplies because they are cleaning much more frequently due to COVID-19. After nearly 2 decades leading the East Helena School District, Superintendent Ron Whitmoyer announced plans to retire this summer. MTN's Jonathan Ambarian talked to Whitmoyer about his career and why now was the right time to step away.
When Ron Whitmoyer took over as East Helena superintendent, the district had just 3 schools. Now, with a district of 5 schools, including its own high school, he's leaving it in a much different place.
I love what I do. I love the kids in this school system. I love the people I work with. This is not an easy decision, but at some time, you know, you have to say, well, somebody else can do this and do a better job than I can do.
Whitmoyer started with East Helena Public Schools as a teacher in 1984. He became middle school principal in 1991, then took over as superintendent a decade later. This is his 19th year in the top job. Whitmoyer was the district's top administrator over a period of growing enrollment. He was there for the construction of Prickly Pear Elementary School and the long process of authorizing and building East Helena High School. But he says he's most proud of how the district ran day to day.
The high school is a great thing, and I'm proud of it, of course, but I'm proud that we operated a budget that made kids have great teachers every day. We've operated a school system that is family-centered.
The district will have to replace 2 longtime administrators this year. Radley Elementary School Principal Joe McMahon is also retiring, after 26 years as a principal in the district. Both men say having consistent leadership has been key for East Helena schools.
Ron and I have worked together. He's been here longer than I have, so he was here when I started. and became our superintendent. And so, and the middle school principal, high school principal, Dan Rispens, has been here quite a while too. So it's been very beneficial for the district to be able to have those administrators in place and keep them in place.
When we put our heads together and we decide as a group, this is where we're going to go, we get there. And I'm very proud to have been a part of that, just one team member.
Whitmore's last day on the job will be July 30th. He says he still has a few final things to take care of before he steps away. In East Helena, Jonathan Amberian, MTN News.
Helena Public Schools is also looking for a new superintendent this year. The school board has initial interviews with 5 semifinalists Wednesday and Thursday, and they will pick the finalists for the position on Thursday. Taking a look at Montana's COVID-19 situation, the state reported just over 200 additional COVID-19 cases today, and active cases continue to fall. Right now, there are just under 3,100 active cases, and to put that in perspective for you, that is less than a fifth of the peak active case numbers from November. 101 people are currently hospitalized with the virus in Montana. 2 additional deaths have been reported today, which brings the statewide death total to 1,329. MTN uses a combination of state and local data to report COVID-19 cases and deaths in the state. And as of today, more than 140,000 total doses of the COVID-19 vaccine have been distributed in the state, with over 38,000 Montanans fully immunized. Now, the state also releases county-level vaccine numbers every Monday. In Lewis and Clark County, 10,700 doses have been administered, with just over 3,000 people fully immunized. Numbers are similar in Cascade County, with around 10,700 doses given and approximately 2,800 people fully vaccinated. Now this year, thanks to community generosity, CASA of Lewis and Clark and Broadwater counties says every child they serve will have a Valentine, or 10 this weekend. MTN's John Riley has the story.
It began with a misunderstanding. Carlene Hansen reached out to the CASA of Lewis and Clark and Broadwater counties after seeing a news story about the Great Falls CASA collecting Valentine's Day cards for kids in foster care.
We said, well, let's do. So she and her mother really organized it. I put out a little video on social media.
Before they knew it, the community had made thousands of handmade Valentine's Day cards for area foster kids. Hill says while it may seem like a simple gesture, it's the small things that often have profound impacts on the children they serve.
Well, you can imagine when kids can't be with their parents, it's really tough. And I think sometimes they feel isolated and alone and like nobody cares. CASA has a slogan, it's called Change a Child's Story. And I believe it really does change a child's story for them to know just how precious they are and how much they matter to our community.
Each child in the care of the state and their family have a unique story. Court-appointed special advocates, or CASAs, serve as the voice for the child. They get to know him or her and advocate to the court on the best interests of that child.
Our whole program is based around volunteers. So if a person would like to become a CASA advocate, they volunteer and receive training, and then they're appointed by the court to walk with a child while they can't be with their parent and to represent to the court what's in that child's best interest.
Hill says finding people to be the voice for these children is their biggest need. They currently have around 50 CASAs and could honestly use twice that many. Anyone interested in being a voice for the voiceless are strongly encouraged to reach out to CASA to find out more about volunteer opportunities. It does take some time and a big heart, but ultimately, it will make a huge difference in the life of a child. Reporting in Helena, John Riley, MTN News.
The Montana Department of Transportation is inviting the public to comment on a proposal to upgrade the railroad pedestrian crossings and connect the Centennial Trail to the trail along North Benton Avenue. The project would also improve pedestrian walkways at the railroad crossing at Benton Avenue. New crossing gates and improved sidewalks would also be installed. Construction is planned for 2023, but it depends on completion of design and availability of funds. The public is encouraged to call Great Falls District Administrator Jim Winggerter at 406-454-5897. And still ahead on the news at 6, how you can support Montana's Special Olympics without leaving your home.
MTN News Leader. You're watching MTN News at 6.
Welcome back to the news at 6. The deadline to submit your videos for this year's virtual Sweetheart Passion Plunge has been extended to February 21st. MTN's Alexia Guayo met with a couple of groups who showed us exactly how to support Special Olympics Montana from home.
The Sweetheart Polar Plunge traditionally does not look like this. The event is typically held at Spring Meadow Lake, but due to the pandemic, the event has gone virtual, meaning community members are encouraged to jump on their own.
We're a Special Olympics Club at Carroll College, and this is our video for the Polar Plunge.
And just because the event went virtual, these groups say it shouldn't stop the support for Special Olympics Montana.
It's because it's still something that needs supported, you know, like just because COVID is happening, we can't just toss everything to the wayside. Like, so this is still actively going on, COVID or not, and so we still wanted to do this and raise the money because we can.
The Special Olympics Club at Carroll College had 5 of their members participate in this plunge. The club states they've surpassed their fundraising goal of $500.
I have a cousin who has autism, so causes like these are very personal to me, and I feel like it's crucial to do something about it, even though it's virtual. So I'm excited that we can still do it this year.
In total, the Sweetheart Plunge has raised nearly $6,000 as of Sunday morning. Their goal is $36,000. As one sponsor says, it's still not too late to donate.
This is actually my 11th year being involved with the Sweetheart Passion Plunge, and I just needed to continue that on. Everybody's gonna be freezing for a reason.
In Helena, I'm Alexi Guayo, MTN News.
All right, now speaking of freezing, here's Andy Curtis to tell us more about the weather.
Yeah, the reason we're all freezing across the state today are the temperatures, and they are not going to get any better anytime soon. Taking a look at Mac Pass, road conditions are also not great across the state. I'll tell you about that coming up next. Welcome back, everybody. Cold night out there for me to tell you about as I fill in for Curtis Grevenitz. This unlucky gentleman behind me doing a little bit of work on his truck up on Mac Pass. Not a good spot and not a good night to be having to work on your rig anywhere across Montana because temperatures are below freezing. And this is a very accurate look of the capital city right now. Cold, wind, sort of, and snow is just blanketing the state. 4 below for the temperature on the thermometer right now, but it feels like 20 below zero. Slight breeze, 9 miles per hour, playing a big part in that wind chill, feeling 20 below zero. 29 below zero is what it feels like up around Great Falls, and it's 13 below on the thermometer. And check out across this state, we are below zero pretty much everywhere except, and here's the slight exception out to the west, 15, 22, 7, 2 on the other side of the divide there. Still, that's not anything really to write home about. When you're 22 degrees in the warmest spot in the state, yeah, it's a very, very cold day, very, very cold nights, and it's going to be a very, very cold week ahead of us. Winter weather alerts, of course, with temperatures that low. We're going to be seeing a lot of these stick around. So we got wind chill watches up in the northeast part of the state. Winter weather advisories, winter storm warnings, more winter weather advisories, and of course, just to throw a little cherry on top of things, an avalanche warning up there around Glacier and Flathead. So a not perfect day to be outside and doing anything really long-term outside. So please be careful if you're driving anywhere or have to do any outside work because these are dangerous temperatures. Not a lot of snow to speak of anymore. That's the snow that we were seeing today, especially around Helena, maybe a little bit out around Missoula. Starting to taper off tonight, so shouldn't be that much of a factor moving forward. Do have a few slight chances of some snow showers later on in the week around the capital city at least, but that will be at night into the next day, and it's just about 20-30% chance. So snow should start to clear out as we head into the week, but that sun won't be popping out. It'll be pretty overcast, pretty cloudy with those cold temperatures as we head into Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. So not a clear night, but not a snowy night across the state. A little bit of snow. We're not the only ones getting hit by winter this week. Great Lakes states are getting a little bit of snow as well, though I was talking to some good sources in Michigan earlier today, They've got snow, but not as cold as us right now. I think 10 degrees is what I was told out there. So at least we got that going for us. We're better than that here in Montana with temperatures very, very, very chilly. So Great Falls tomorrow, 8 below for the high, 35 below zero with that wind chill. Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday still not reaching zero or any of those positive temperatures. 9 below on Wednesday, 14 below on Thursday, Friday 4 below, and then there's our next slight chance of some morning snow, but again, just a slight chance before we get into the tropical temperatures. Saturday and Sunday, 1 degree and 6 degrees around the Electric City. Up in the Helena area, down in the Helena area, depending on where you're standing, I guess. Tomorrow, 6 degrees for the high. Wednesday, 2, and then we take a little bit of a nosedive. 9 below on Thursday, and that should be the coldest we get until we jump up to 2 degrees to start our weekend.
All right, thanks, Andy. Coming up, this pandemic has been hard on everyone, but women are continuing to struggle to get back to work. More on this and some potential solutions up next.
As news leader, you're watching MTN News at 6.
Welcome back to the News at 6. More than a year into this pandemic, women are among those continuing to struggle the most with returning to work. Alicia Nieves first reported on this troubling trend several months ago, and now she shows us it has gotten worse. Today, she's looking at possible solutions to prevent long-term damage.
Women have historically struggled for equal pay and an equal place in the workforce. This pandemic may be exposing just how much of a struggle that is still.
I've been looking at this data for 10 years, and every time I open it in 2020, it's like, what's going to be, I just have no idea what to expect.
Jasmine Tucker is the director of research at the National Women's Law Center and has been following a troubling trend among women in the workforce. Every month since March 2020, the Bureau of Labor Statistics Employment Situation Report shows women have been disproportionately losing their jobs. The trend hit its height in December when the country saw a net loss of 140,000 jobs that month.
Men gained 16,000 jobs and women lost 156,000 jobs, which gave us that net 140,000 jobs lost. That was a big surprise.
Researchers like Tucker say the job loss is related to 2 factors. One, women having to leave the workforce to care for children at home.
If you have 2 earners and one has to stay home with a toddler, who's it going to be? It's going to be the lower earner.
The second reason for the disproportionate job loss, employers are simply letting go of more women.
Racism and sexism are alive and well in this country, and employers are making choices. This has real impacts, not just now, but in long term.
She says long term, women with gaps in employment will likely make even less than male counterparts and will see slower career growth. To tackle this issue, the National Women's Law Center and other organizations have been calling for Congress to invest billions of dollars in the childcare industry, making it more affordable and accessible. And from employers directly,
we have to hold employers accountable. We have to hold their feet to the fire here.
I'm Alicia Nieves reporting.
All right, and we'll wrap things up here on the News at 6 when we come back.
News leader, you're watching MTN News at 6.
All right, well, you might not know this, but today is National Kite Day, National Kite Flying Day, which this is a terrible day for that. But anyway, some history about kites. Kites date back to 470 BC in China, and no one is quite sure exactly why people started flying them. Now, some people think that they were used to spy on enemies, or not sure how that would work, but they also maybe were used to send messages. Evidence shows people of the South Sea Islands used them to fish. Modern kites have come a long way since then. Once they were made of bamboo and silk, and now you can get complicated box or stunt kites that dip, twist, and dive.
Taking a look at the 7-day forecast in the Helena area to wrap things up. 6 degrees tomorrow for the high, 2 on Wednesday, and then we take a little bit of a polar plunge. 9 below for the high on Thursday into 0 for the high on Friday. Weekend's not much better, single digits, 2 degrees on Saturday, and in Great Falls, even colder, a high of below 14 below 0 on Thursday. So bundle up, stay warm, and be safe.
All right, thanks, Andy, and thanks to those temperatures, I would not suggest celebrating National Kite Day. We'll see you back here tonight at 10.